I was recently involved in a discussion with a friend over the details of my new dietary regime consisting primarily of eating meat. And in the course of that discussion, I made the point that meat is always less likely to be harmful to a person than a plant is. In fact, when you think of all the toxins in the environment, they nearly all come directly from plants or microorganisms. When meat is harmful to humans, it's generally not because the meat itself is bad, but because it's picked up bacteria such as salmonella, or because the animals have consumed toxins in the environment which got passed into their muscle tissue. When you think about it, it makes perfect sense why this should be the case. Both plants and animals want to live. And I'm using the term want in the biological sense here. Plants want to pass their genetic material just as much as animals do, and they need to survive long enough to do so. But animals have a distinct advantage here. An animal can run away. Plants are stuck in the ground. They have no defense if something wants to eat them. Except that's not really true, is it? Plants do have a defense. They in fact have only one defense: chemical warfare. Plants can produce toxins that will make whatever eats them get sick. This is especially true when their seeds are edible, since, again, the primary aim of any living organism is to reproduce. That's why if you eat a bunch of apple seeds, for example, you could die of cyanide poisoning. Granted, a human would have to eat a lot of apple seeds for there to be a deleterious effect, but apples do have cyanide as a defense mechanism. There's nothing really similar in animals. In fact, I tried to think of any animal meat that was toxic to humans, and it was very difficult to come up with any examples. The few examples I did come up with were actually found to be inaccurate. For example, pufferfish is poisonous if prepared incorrectly. We've all heard that. But that turns out to be inaccurate. It's not the pufferfish that's poisonous, but instead it's bacteria that the pufferfish eat that is poisonous. In fact, one of the most common dishes of pufferfish, the fugu, can be made poison-free simply by ensuring they never eat food with that bacteria. Another example is the fact that polar bear liver is toxic to humans. But again, this isn't because the meat itself is toxic. It's because of what polar bears eat. They consume a lot of seals, which contain a bunch of vitamin A. Vitamin A is fat-soluble, which means it cannot pass out of the body via urine. It gets stored in the liver. For the same reason, even a little bit too much vitamin A is bad for a human because a human can't get rid of it either. And it turns out that eating even as little as a gram of polar bear liver can contain a toxic level of vitamin A. But again, this is not due to the liver itself, it's due to what polar bears eat. And this is really the main point here, so I want to emphasize it. Animals that do carry toxins do so accidentally. Their meat is not designed to be toxic. It would waste valuable resources for an animal to develop such toxins when they can simply run away to avoid being eaten. The energy in their body is going to be used to make them mobile, not wasted on creating a toxin that will harm others who eat them. When an animal picks up such a toxin, like the pufferfish does, it's a happy accident for them. They have a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that produce the toxins naturally, so they're not wasting their own energy and coming up with an otherwise useless biological function. Plants don't get that option. They have no ability at all to run away. So for them, it's not a waste to develop toxins. It is, in fact, the only defense they do have. So what does that mean for humans? If you have a lot of inflammation from food, it's almost guaranteed to be because of the plants you eat, not any meat you eat. For example, there are tons of people who are gluten intolerant. But do you know any person who is steak intolerant? This extends further when we think of allergens. Most people are allergic to plants, not meat. Most allergies are plant-based, which is not to say that it's impossible to be allergic to meat, but it's very rare when compared to things like peanuts or any other tree nut, wheat, or soy. So does this mean the average person shouldn't eat any plants then? Well, I would argue only that the average person should, at some point in their adult life, experiment to see if they do better on a carnivore diet. But there is one caveat I will add. One reason why, even if plants are low-level toxic for you, that you might still want to eat at least some of them. And that goes back to the symbiotic relationship we have with microbes. Just as pufferfish eat bacteria, which provides them an added toxin defense to the fact that they're also mobile. Humans have a whole range of bacteria living inside their intestines. In fact, there are more bacteria cells in your body than there are human cells, and those bacteria are primarily helping you digest your food. Now, I personally think that those bacteria will do just fine on a carnivore diet too, but the jury is still officially out on that one when it comes to scientific research. So it might be beneficial to feed your bacteria some plant material, especially fiber, from time to time, at least until more research is completed on the human gut microbiome. But even if you have those concerns, unless you are severely malnourished, you can follow any diet for a month without any ill effects. Why don't you try a meat-based diet and see if it cuts down on inflammation, irritable bowel syndrome, or any other bad health you might be experiencing? You can always add back foods later. I would suggest one at a time so you can see what they do to you. Going meat only for a month is good to clear your body of all those other toxins so you can see the genuine effect that, say, gluten may have on you. After all, a lot of people who are gluten intolerant don't even realize it because they simply live with the side effects thinking it's normal. It's not until after they no longer experience those side effects that they realize how bad they were. But as I said in my last video, at the end of the day, just remember, I'm a random person on YouTube. Don't take my word for anything. Do your own research. And as always, have a wonderful day.